Hi, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute. As folks are coming in, we'd love to know where you're dialing in from. Please let us know where you're dialing in from in the chat. Chicago. Portland. Nice. We'll give it about one more minute before we start. Very excited for today's discussion. Still seeing some more folks join in, so we'll give it a little bit more time and then we'll get started. Please let us know where you're dialing in from in the chat. Hope everyone's having a great Tuesday afternoon. I see Portland, I see Michigan, Hollywood, Florida. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Let's get started. So everyone, welcome to today's session, your 2026 reality check on everything AI, ops, and measuring its impact. So for those I haven't met yet, I'm Ries, CMO at OpenAsset. My focus here is really helping teams streamline workflows and demonstrate their impact very clearly. So I'm thrilled to be here today and to learn from our incredible panelists. And also, I'm looking forward to sharing a few actionable takeaways, some insights that I have for you to bring back to your teams after this webinar. So here's a quick look at our run of show for today, what we'll be covering. And before we dive in, just a little bit of housekeeping. Please be sure to drop your questions in the Q&A box outlined right there. We'll get to as many of these as we can at the end during the Q&A section. And throughout today's discussion, you'll also see a few polls pop up. So please take a second to respond when they do. Your input will really help us tailor the conversation to where your team is today and address your biggest challenges in real time. We want to make this as one-on-one, one-to-one as possible. And one quick shameless plug before we jump in. If you haven't already, you can learn more or request a demo of Shred AI at openasset.com. Cool. So I think we're ready to go. Let's go. Here's your 2026 reality check. So we all know that AEC marketers are stretched thin. Nearly 3/4 of our time is spent on BD support. You'll see it sort of called out right there, the top right section of the graphic, that little teal part. And while it's critical work, it often means there's very little time left for the strategic, creative initiatives that actually help drive growth with our firms. I'm talking about things like brand building, relationship development, and new digital campaigns. The result is that most of us, I'm sure most people dialing in today are operating in reactive mode, trying to just keep up instead of moving forward and ultimately just trying to keep our heads above water. So proposals are still the lifeblood of our businesses, but they're also where we see some of the biggest inefficiencies. We found out that nearly 2/3 are submitted right up to the day of the deadline, and about half don't even align with our ideal customer profile, our ICPs. So this means that we're spending a lot of time under pressure, creating proposals that might not even be the best fit to begin with. The good news, though, is that we already have tools and technologies that can really change this story for us. We're just not using them to their full potential yet. So while most firms are experimenting with AI, only about half are applying it to proposals. And that's the gap that I'm looking for here. This is the gap where we can ultimately turn inefficiencies into our competitive advantage. So we talk about doing more with less. We talk about this a lot, and this slide really backs that up. Something that we learned is that half of marketing teams are just 1 to 5 people, 1 to 5 FTEs, full-time employees, even inside some of the largest firms. So it's no surprise that we cite resource constraints and operational efficiencies um, as our, they're constantly topping the list of our challenges year after year, and this kind of just hasn't changed. So what's interesting though is that the appetite for solutions is stronger than ever. Nearly 9 in 10 marketers say they want to use AI to speed up proposals, and the teams that act on that will be the ones shifting from, this sort of survival mode right now to real strategic impact. Here's another reality check. Only 1 in 4 marketers feel confident they can pursue all the proposals they want to, basically everything that makes it to their desk. That means that we're leaving opportunities on the table, not because we lack talent or lack creativity, but because we lack time, the resources, and the right systems. So here the real question becomes, how do we get that time back? And we've all heard that saying, probably too much at this point. AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use it will. To me, like this is old news, like that debate is over. Nearly 80% of marketers say that they're experimenting with AI, something I already mentioned, which is just a huge jump from just a year ago. But here's the real kicker. Most haven't received any AI training or enablement from their companies. There's no support here. So it's really been up to the individual to figure it out. And as we move into 2026, the real competitive edge won't just come from using AI, it'll come from really integrating it into your workflows, into your proposals, your decision making, and really knowing how to measure its impact. And obviously, enablement with this is key to make that happen. And with that, let's turn to today's panel. So we're joined by 2 incredible marketing leaders who bring both depth of experience and different perspectives, from architecture to construction, from mid-size agility to enterprise scale. Vanessa and Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today. Vanessa, let's start with you. Can you please share your role, where you're based, and how long you've been in AEC and what first brought you into the industry?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, Derek. I'm really excited to be here today. I am the CMO for DAHLIN, and we are an architecture, planning, and interior design firm. I'm based in Pleasanton, California, and we have offices in the US and in China. So I've been in the industry for 20 years, and I joined DAHLIN in 2019. So I lead a lean team of 5 in a firm of about 180 people. So very relevant topic and very timely for us here. And what brought me to the industry originally was my journalism background and my writing and layout and graphics experience. It translated well to a marketing coordinator position. And that's how I landed my first role in 2005. So
Nice.
thank you.
Very impressive path. I love how you sort of, made it from your past in journalism and stuff like that to where you are today. Very interesting story. Michelle, can you please give us an overview of your role, your background, and how you got to where you are today?
Of course, Derek. I'm Michelle Ott. I am the Vice President of Marketing Operations for JE Dunn Construction. I'm based out of our Denver office. We have 26 offices across the country. I got my start in the industry a very long time ago. I've been in the industry for almost 30 years at this point, starting at JE Dunn in 2002. I started my journey in AEC while I was finishing my undergrad, and my role within that firm was really administrative, but it exposed me to a lot of facets of the business, and I really gravitated towards marketing. And as you can imagine, over these last few decades, the role of marketing has shifted a lot. I've just been very fortunate to have the opportunity with JE Dunn to grow my career with this one fabulous firm.
Yeah, and it's, I just want to say we're so lucky to have 2 leaders here who've carved out strategic roles and really earned their seats at the table. I think that's something that, all of us marketers are sort of thriving towards and trying to work at. And also, as I mentioned before, two leaders operating in very different size firms, also spanning across A and C. So Michelle, can you please give us an idea of what it's like working at JE Dunn scale?
Yeah, when we were prepping for this panel and Vanessa and I were really just talking about our various experiences, it really brought to light how much more nimble you can be when you're in a smaller firm. And so there's a lot of advantages of being able to move and react and act swiftly. Within a large firm, there's a lot of considerations where you really have to think across the organization and ensure that you have cross-functional alignment for any major initiative, especially with regards to technology, to really take off. And so it definitely can slow down the process, but I would say all progress is progress, whether it's small and slow or large and fast.
Love it. All progress is progress, no matter what. Let's jump into the panelist questions. And let's start off with smarter workflows and AI adoption. Let's kick it off with a poll. Cool. So how would you describe your current use of AI? We'd love to hear from those who are on the call right now. Is it fully integrated? Is it high? Is it moderate? Used in select areas or functions? Limited? Or just haven't started using AI yet? Seeing a lot in the moderate area, limited area, 4 in the fully integrated. I'd love to hear about that. Cool. I'm going to end the poll so we can see some results. Cool. So here's the results from that poll. Vanessa, like, what do you think about the results? And also, like, where do you fall with current use of AI at DAHLIN?
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I would say that DAHLIN's use of AI is in the moderate range, and there's a lot of exciting potential from a design use case standpoint. But really, it's been our resource teams that have been first to adopt AI, and marketing pioneered that in some way. Last year, I attended the SMPS AI workshop, and I quickly brought my entire team on board with ChatGPT's enterprise system. And it's been a game changer. I use it every day, and I encourage all of my team members to use it every day as well. So we created an internal GPT named Virginia, and it's great for so many things, specifically generating first drafts in proposal narratives, such as cover letters, executive summaries, and we've even used it to support our quality assurance and compliance checks for the final review before submission. And also, our admin team is using it early in the pursuit process for due diligence as part of our go no-go workflow. And even at an exec team level, I'm utilizing ChatGPT to summarize pipeline and sales dashboards, to plot data and show trends. And it cuts my prep time nearly in half for my monthly leadership meeting. So it's integrated in pretty much everything that we do.
I love it. And Virginia, what a great name. Sounds like an absolute pro there. Michelle, how has your team approached AI?
So I was actually pleased to see the results here because I feel like I'm among my people kind of hovering in that limited to moderate zone. So obviously our marketing team members are absolutely exploring the use of AI, but I wouldn't say that we're at a point of high proficiency and a large scale consistency, but we are leveraging Copilot, for some of the kind of fundamental uses, summarizing meetings, drafting initial content based on bullet points, rewriting for tone. We do have some marketers that are really digging in a little bit further and using tools like Gemini to be able to scrub a transcript and write a first draft of an award submittal. So we're just continuing to explore ways that we can use it and how can we take it to the next level to really be an enterprise solution.
Great. And I see some messages in the chat, how have you implemented data security governance along with user training and support? Michelle, this one for you. Can you briefly talk about the guardrails that you're putting in place at JE Dunn?
Yeah, we're actually in the final stages of finalizing our AI policies and guardrails. And so we've obviously working very closely with our IT and legal teams just to ensure that we're protecting our data and brand integrity. And so as team members are exploring the use of AI, we really encourage them to be mindful of anything that would be considered confidential, that we just need to be really careful with what we're putting out there while giving them the space to explore.
Perfect. It makes perfect sense at your scale, like JE Dunn's so large. And Vanessa, can you please talk about how you've established guidelines given how quickly your firm was able to adopt AI?
Sure. So I kind of operate on a ask for forgiveness later methodology in some ways, and I certainly did with AI. But we are balancing, the rapid innovation with strategic caution. And currently, our design technology team is working with our legal counsel to establish more clear AI usage guidelines across the firm. But to date, it has been monitored on a team-by-team basis. And the mid-sized nature of DAHLIN really allows us to make some faster decisions with the fewer internal barriers, which is nice when it comes to things like this.
That's great. And, I'm going to cheat a little bit, but I see, looking at the Q&A right now, some people are asking about how are you training your AI to write in your brand voice and tone? A quick hack that I really love, or related to brand guardrails, is when we launched Shred AI, we uploaded our about 100-page brand book into ChatGPT. We all have enterprise licenses. And for me, it's been a major sort of cheat code for both verbal and visual identity guidelines. I'll prompt it with things like, make this copy align more with our brand identity or messaging. I'll even upload a screenshot of a one-pager or even a slide. For instance, like, when I was working on copy for these different slides, I would take a screenshot of it, upload it, and ask it for design feedback. And can't believe how helpful it's been. So if you've got a solid brand book, I highly recommend testing this out. Also, another thing, if you're not there yet, if you don't have a brand book or brand guidelines, maybe start asking ChatGPT how to help you build one. You'd be surprised what it's able to sort of produce there based on just providing, writing samples and different things like that. And you can really collaborate with it to kind of get what you need out of it to help establish those branding guardrails. Cool. So let's move on. Let's shift to go, no go, something I know that we're all very passionate about. I'm going to launch another poll. Cool. So do you have a defined go, no go process? Seeing a bunch of responses come in. I'll be sure to share the results right away now that I know how this works. Getting a lot of responses. I'll give it one more second. Cool. I'm going to end the poll, share the results. Cool. So here's the results. So somewhat is kind of, the winner here, but, yes is a close second. Michelle, do you want to talk about your go, no go process at JE Dunn and kind of give some clarity on, how defined it is?
Yeah, so we've really made an intentional effort to shift from emotionally based decisions to decisions based on objective and data-driven metrics. And so thankfully we have really clearly defined market strategies and comprehensive engagement plans, so that we can identify the pursuits that are going to be target pursuits that we have a high probability of winning. And historically, we've tracked our hit rates as far as wins and losses, but we're really trying to evolve that to continue to inform that go, no-go process, to also explain the why we're winning or losing, to really kind of add that extra layer of what is actually the win probability or our probability of success here. So currently our win rate's about 50%, which is actually strong for the industry, but we're continuing to try to push that up with making strategic decisions based on objective information.
I love it. I love the multi-threading that you have there. I think that's very sophisticated. And also I'm just so jealous of that 50% win rate. I wish we saw win rates like that in SaaS. And then Vanessa, what does your go no-go discipline look like, and how are you leveraging, I know you're using Vantage Point a lot. How are you leveraging Vantage Point to help your team say no faster and win smarter?
Yeah, so I would say we're in the yes category, and it's been a journey to get us there over the last 6 years since I've been at Dahlin. We recently, this year, implemented our go, no-go form directly into our Vantage Point CRM. So it's the first step that our teams have to take before marketing resources will be dedicated to any RFP or RFQ. And they're very diligent about following this process. So the technology certainly helps. And I would say equally as important is the internal cross collaboration with the teams and getting buy-in at the top level. And I'm grateful to have a seat at that table because marketing is able to make that final decision with strategic input from our teams. So we tag every pursuit as either strategic or opportunistic. And sometimes there's gray area, right? So we have to make the best call. But we have eliminated so many go, no go meetings that are unnecessary by really refining our process. And we have really strong outcomes. Our industry, we are above industry average, about 60% win rate across the firm. And I think we're going to hopefully significantly improve that even further. And I'll have a year's worth of data at the end of this year to compare and analyze so we can refine our approach even further.
That's incredible. 60% win rate. And also, I'm sure that there's not many firms out there where marketing really gets to make that final decision. So that's awesome. And we spoke about gray area. So Michelle, quick follow-up for you. How do you handle situations where teams still want to chase, non-ICP ops because of that, gut feel?
Yeah, and so you're always going to have those ones that come in where you have a passionate leader that really wants to pursue an opportunity. And so again, I'm going to go back to that objective data. And sometimes you aren't going to win the battle, no matter how much logic or backup you have on your side. But that definitely reinforces the position, and then it also fosters kind of a follow-up discussion where we knew we weren't going to fare well in these areas based on how we performed in the past. And so I would say, kind of combating that, kind of emotional response to pursuing work with that diplomatic, data-driven approach to make good decisions, smart decisions.
Great. I feel like, based on both your responses, it's all about balancing objectivity, balancing discipline. And I like how there's sort of these retros to really further establish it. Cool. So let's move on to platform rollouts. So I know we've all been through a few, and even when they go super smoothly, they go, ideal, you can still expect some challenges or some major lessons learned. So I'm going to open up another poll for the audience. So, what's your biggest challenge when adopting new tools or technologies? This is a good one. It's tough to pick just a single challenge. Give it maybe 10 more seconds. Submissions are not slowing down. Cool. So slowing down not really, slowing down a bit. So I will end the poll. I'll share the results. So we see finding time or resources for onboarding as the biggest challenge. We see unclear ownership or process. Second, gaining leadership buy-in, a close third. I mean, there's definitely a ton of responses for all these and a ton of votes for all these. So Vanessa, how do these challenges resonate with you?
Yeah, it's very similar here at DAHLIN, and finding resources is always a challenge, especially when we have limited time and people. So that's why I think in a software that integrates with existing programs has been a priority for us. It makes the integration easier, and that's what we've focused on. And also gaining that leadership buy-in is so key. So we integrated our OpenAsset system implementation earlier this year, and early on in that process, we identified that it was important for us to have collaboration with the technical teams so that OpenAsset wasn't just seen as a marketing software, because really everyone in our firm has access to it, and our technical teams are using it, and some of them even bringing it into client meetings. And our clients have commented on how much they like OpenAsset. So that's been really critical, and also connecting that with the data in our VantagePoint CRM system. We implemented that over 3 years, and it certainly was a slow and steady process, and it was a phased implementation. So we weren't just going all in and waiting till it was perfect. It was, okay, let's do this one step at a time and identify what those critical milestones are and roll them out individually. So that's one way that we've been able to adopt our technology with a lean team, and really leading it on our own with collaboration throughout the firm.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, anything else you want to add or any other challenges that you might have faced along the way?
Well, I mean, it's always a challenge, right? It's not easy, and we're continuing to update the systems, but I think having it at a good place when you do roll it out is important, because that initial reaction will either help your adoption or not. And our COO actually said that OpenAsset was our most successful software implementation ever, which I was shocked and happy to hear. And I really think that is due to how it was that early focus group that we brought into play to make sure that we were getting the design team's input along the way. And even in the rollout, having them present as part of our implementation was really key.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely happy to hear that as well. And also, just disclaimer, I promise we didn't pay Vanessa or her COO to say that. But it's so true. I think early stakeholder involvement can really drive impact and really move things forward. And you spoke about phased implementation versus going all in. Michelle, I know you tackled 2 rollouts in a single year. So I'd love to know, like, what drove that decision and what lessons did you learn?
Yeah, so we just went all in, and we're very ambitious and decided to implement both OpenAsset as our digital asset management solution. And so we had not previously had a solution like that before. But then we also rolled out Microsoft Dynamics as our CRM solution, transitioning from a CRM that we had been on for over 20 years. So we had to facilitate these implementations and foster adoptions across 26 offices. And so again, it was a large undertaking. And I would say the sense of urgency was really driven by pain points. I think we were really just kind of coming to a head, doing duplicate work, recognizing the inefficiencies, difficulties of searching, and disconnected information. And so touching on what Vanessa mentioned, where, the dam is not a marketing system. And so these technologies we're putting in place are not marketing systems. And so that is really the culture shift that's happened in our organization as well, where the CRM was the marketing system. And then I think the dam could have easily become the marketing system, but these are enterprise solutions where we are providing assets, data, information, visibility, ability to collaborate across the entire organization. So learned a lot of lessons. We struggled with all of those things that were on the survey. And I would say, in addition to, I would say we largely had leadership support, but that stakeholder support, especially when you're pulling someone away from a system they've known for 25 years, it's definitely, you're going to have some resistance. But we really combated that by just making sure that we had crystal clear objectives from the start, and we continued to reinforce them throughout the process. And even when we were kind of on the verge of, thinking we might have to bend because we're just not getting agreement, we pulled ourselves back and said, no, we need to stick with the objectives that we outlined, because those were really developed strategically when we were clear-headed, not when we were in the throes of implementation. We made sure all the right stakeholders were involved. And again, this is another area where you just have to have continuous reinforcement, because stakeholders will forget what they agreed to. And so you need to make sure that you are their rock, that you're that person they can always go to for that level of consistency. And we documented decisions to validate choices. Like I said, people will forget what they agreed to sometimes. And we really prioritize heavy communication and training and guidance and just availability to just help people navigate the process. So I'm a big believer that technology is never a solution. It's a part of the solution. It's really that communication and bringing people along with you that'll really determine the success.
It's crazy. Like implementing 2 tools across 26 offices in a year. Clearly your plan worked very well. Clear objectives, using that as an anchor point, and also the idea that, yes, they might be marketing tools, but everyone's using it. You need that sort of, buy-in across the board. And then, adoption fatigue, I'm sure, was really real, especially, tackling 2 rollouts in a single year. So how did you handle that adoption fatigue, Michelle?
Yeah, and adoption fatigue was and still is real. And so we really try to meter out any changes that we're making at the moment, because we recognize that we rolled out 2 really large changes recently. And so continuing to keep those lines of communication open. And so even though we're fully launched in both of those systems, now we've been in OpenAsset for over a year. We've been in Dynamics for about 10 months now. And we're still keeping those lines of communication open. And then just continuing to reinforce the why. And one of the things that I always recommend is go to the hotspots, go to the people that are the most resistant to adoption, and address those. And then I find that everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah. I think it's really critical to, always reiterate the why. And yeah, like you said, going to those specific folks is really important. And also, like, adoption fatigue, it never ends. It's not like you implement something, you sort of forget about it. There's constant sort of reiteration and, enablement and, change management, all that good stuff. So for me, the big takeaway here is that the most successful tech rollouts aren't just the tools. They hinge on prep, communication, and really keeping stakeholders engaged from start to finish and beyond. Cool. Let's move to the next topic. Search fatigue and protecting SME hours. Going to launch another poll. Sorry. Launching another poll right now. So how much time does your team spend searching for content or assets during proposal work? I'm seeing a lot. A lot is getting a lot of responses. very little for very little as well. Cool. Looks like the responses are slowing down a bit, so I'll end the poll. I will share the results. So, Vanessa, what do you think here? And also, I would love to know, how much time does your team spend today? How much time did they spend before? And can you kind of talk about how you've addressed, I think what you called before, the classic treasure hunt problem?
Sure. Yeah, I certainly identify with the some happening, but manageable. And
Mhm.
my answer a year ago would have been a lot. But we have gotten so much better as we've centralized our assets in OpenAsset and combining that with our CRM feed from Vantage Point. So our next tool that we're integrating is Shred AI, and really looking forward to seeing how that can further help us save time and energy with the proposal automation features that it has. So our teams are not searching endlessly through the server anymore, and we've pre-ranked our images and tagged our proposal library. So I think it's nearly 30,000 images that are in OpenAsset, and we're reducing our typical time hunting for assets from hours to probably under 10 or 15 minutes. It's just so much easier now that ranked and tagged and organized. And it's also available to our external consultants. So that's one thing that was really important for me, having a lean team. I rely on outsourcing external consultants go this collaboration. So it's allowing us to do more there. And the architects, they love it. We've pre-ranked all the hero images, so we don't have to talk about the cover image on a proposal for a half an hour anymore. They're already pre-selected for the most part. There's still some discussion occasionally, but I want to be able to quantify next exactly how many hours we're saving from the billable staff, because that's our really critical business metric, and that's what I was looking at in implementing Shred AI, was to really help reduce that staff time.
Yeah, billable hours is something that we're really focused on gathering. What was it before? What is it today with Shred? But yeah, I love those tangible results. 30,000 images, reducing asset hunts from hours to under 10 to 15 minutes. Like that's an insane, um, you know, increase in efficiency. And also, the fact that you're using pre-ranked hero images for architects. Um, and obviously, metrics that show reductions in wasted hours and time saved are really key for leadership buy-in. And when you can tie a tool like OpenAsset to real-time savings, as I said before, especially for billable staff, it becomes a really, really powerful case for a continued investment. And we're seeing that over and over again. Um, Michelle, how are you tackling search fatigue and preventing burnout across your teams?
I will say, it really lately it's really been around the technologies that we've implemented. And so we've also been focused on integrating our systems so that we can reduce duplicate work, so that our people have the assurance the data is accurate. And so with Dynamics, we have integrations that populate project data, personnel information. So it's significantly reduced manual entry. OpenAsset has not been another game changer for us to be able to quickly search and find images and not have to dig in folder and then subfolder, or trying to remember where somebody placed something. So we've been able to maximize the resources that we have there. We are still on our journey for a pursuit content management solution. And so, recognizing that it's a multi-layer solution where we need access, we need to be able to develop and govern validated content and access that validated content while also searching past proposals and then finding a way to kind of merge the two. And so we're on that journey right now. And so I would say we're still in that zone of, we're probably spending more time than we should be searching for content, but we're making positive progress. And we're continuing to leverage tools that we've been using for a number of years, like Adobe Creative Cloud libraries, shared OneNotes to share information. But we know we've outgrown that solution and are working to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, all progress is progress. So the key takeaway for me here is reducing search fatigue doesn't just save critical hours. It goes deeper, kind of what you were saying before, preserving morale, helping prevent burnout. And I think that really ties into this next topic that we got here, which is culture and growth. So this is the last poll that I'll throw up on the screen. Cool. So how structured is your firm's approach to marketing talent development? This is one that I'm really interested about. It's not something that we've, typically asked our customers and stuff like this. But yeah, it's key, as one of our big missions is, empowering marketers to get a seat at the table. I think talent development is very important for us. Give it just a few more seconds. There's a lot of none here. I'll say that. But there's also some developing. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. And Michelle, let's take a look at them. So, Michelle, how do you feel about these responses? And also, I'd love to talk about your perspective and maybe even some lessons you've learned along your path on how you support growth, both individually and as a leader.
Yeah, and so, honestly, the results are to some degree understandable, especially Derek, when you started out this presentation with a metric on how small marketing departments are. And so if you've only got a couple of people in a marketing department, there likely isn't going to be a clear path for growth. And so I always like to take a look at this from a you have a lot of control over your own destiny as an individual and how you position yourself within your firm. I actually heard this from one of my colleagues last week where, as a marketing professional, we are the experts in this space, and we need to make sure that we're communicating that we are experts in this space. And this is a professional position, just like all of our colleagues, whether they're on the operations side or on the finance side. And from my perspective, what we do on a proposal basis is so important. It's the lifeblood of our industry. And I am honestly a lot of times disappointed when marketers say they want to get out of proposals because I actually don't want to get too disconnected from proposals because I know how important they are to keep our firm sustainable, to keep our people employed and growing. And so at an individual level, if you are doing pursuits, continue to recognize how important pursuits are and your critical role in that. And also as marketers, it's important to say, make sure that you have business cases around whether it's a path for growth or need for more resources. And so it's not enough just to say that we're overloaded. We have to tie in, we're not able to do these certain things because these strategic initiatives because we're doing these other things, and really tie it back to the business goals. I will say I'm pretty fortunate at JE Dunn. We've made a strong effort to clearly identify paths for growth for our marketing team members. I started as the only Denver-based marketing coordinator here many years ago, and this position that I have now within marketing operations was not even something that I could have even dreamt of back then. So don't lose hope, and I just encourage everyone to make sure that they kind of take control of their own professional destiny. And then from a management perspective, as leaders, it's our job to remove those pain points within the proposal process or within the marketing process. Just empower marketers to lift their head out of the RFP, searching and grind to really be able to focus on strategic goals. And then also encouraging our marketers and supporting them as they learn more about the business, from financial literacy to understanding risk points. I think that helps them grow and become more valuable to the organization as they move forward.
That's incredible advice, and it's all stuff that clearly has worked based on where you're at today. And yeah, things that I'm always emphasizing to my team is like, please translate your work to tangible results. Just don't be like, obviously I feel the pain, but I need to sort of understand, what impacts could we have if we add resources or something like that. Like, speaking the language of leadership is really important. Like, you make it so much easier for execs when you try to at least connect the dots. And once you connect those dots, the more likely they are to really support your initiatives. Like, you'd be surprised about how much traction you could get just from removing that extra lift and really just like making the slightest effort to tie your performance to revenue, even if that connection is, a stretch. Just really think about it that way. And you'd be surprised some of the results that you get out of that. Vanessa, what processes have you put in place to help your team stay motivated and connect their work to the bigger picture?
Sure. Well, I would say being a mid-sized firm in our small team, it really does allow each one of us to wear a lot of hats. And that can also provide more direct paths for individual contributors to step into leadership roles and really drive meaningful change across the firm. It's being a big fish in a small pond versus being a small fish in a big pond. We can do more and have a real impact. So an example of that is a coordinator on our team who championed the rollout of OpenAsset. And he did that, of course, with guidance from myself and others, but he really took that on and took ownership of it. And he has since grown into a pursuit specialist role. That implementation gave him a lot of visibility and exposure throughout the firm. And it was really impressive what he was able to do being an earlier career professional. So I was happy he could have that opportunity. And, being that DAHLIN is an employee-owned company, that was really important to me in joining the firm. And that, along with that, is really an intentionally supportive and growth-oriented culture that is driven a lot by transparency and the numbers being open and available to everyone. So we can really connect our contributions as a team to the broader firm goals and growth. And also some of the things that we do as part of our annual reviews, we have incorporated SMART goals to identify a stretch opportunity that each marketer can align with their interests and the greater firm objectives. And also within my team, I've used the Working Genius assessment, and that is really great at identifying individual team member strengths and passions so that I can make sure people are aligned to where they're going to be best utilized and happy. And also, it allows us to have this common language for greater collaboration and assignment of tasks across the board. So those are some of the things that we've done.
Yeah, I just want to say that I appreciate all the work that you've both done um, to really help with that career growth and culture. Like, great bosses are, sort of key to this, but also it's not only putting, all these great processes in place, but it's also, offering people the opportunity to maybe jump into an opportunity, like you were mentioning before about your marketing coordinator who's now a pursuit specialist. Like, that's a great opportunity. And just, having the willingness to hand that off to someone who's junior is really great and says a lot about you as a leader. So takeaway here for me is that empowering teams really comes down to intentionality. It comes down to alignment, to business goals, and this is regardless of firm size or structure. Like this is consistent across the board. And also, like, as you both display very clearly, it's on us as leaders to put these systems and support in place to make that happen, which, once again, I really appreciate. So, North Star metric, and what's ahead in 2026. I have a background in marketing ops. I'm always thinking about the numbers. I want to track better or just start to track it all. Vanessa, what are you hoping to track more closely next year, and how might that data shape things like budgeting decisions?
Mhm. Well, our primary goal is to be able to link our win-loss outcomes directly back to our go, no-go process and tagging system. So we want to increase our success rate even further on pursuits that we've tagged as strategic. And we want to be able to look back and say, okay, we said this was a no and we won or we lost, and really be able to measure that much closer. And also, we're starting to track our true cost to pursue opportunities. And just starting out, we want to aim for an average proposal cost below $10,000 without sacrificing our win rate, and doing that by the successful implementation and integration of some of these technology tools and processes we're putting into place. So I'd say the CRM has been a major improvement for us, and now we can at least see our win-loss data directly alongside our go-no-go process. And I'm excited to be able to get a deeper understanding of the impact as we'll have a year's worth of data.
Yeah, I love how you're, really looking to validate your go, no-go tagging system, um, and just show, how well it's working. And also, something we spoke about earlier, during this panel was just leaning in on finance metrics, like looking at average proposal cost. Like that's something that's speaking the language of, the CFO, leadership, all that important stuff, and really, creating that strong alignment. Michelle, what are some things that you're looking at for 2020?
Yeah, actually very similar to Vanessa, is really diving deep into our win-loss analysis and really understanding the why behind each outcome. And so again, just going back to those, just data-driven decision making, so we can have insights, so that we can take meaningful action. The other thing, like Vanessa, that we're trying to do is really truly understand the cost of a pursuit, and have some metrics around it. Because, like you said, Derek, that's what really speaks to the business. Is okay, if we lost this much money pursuing this opportunity that we really objectively did not have a chance to win, that really starts to make a case for really solid go, no-go decisions and good resource allocation. And I would say the last thing that we're really focused on is really understanding the customer experience life cycle from initial contact all the way to repeat client. And so really just understanding that entire journey, and how do we find and secure the right clients, and then how do we retain them by understanding the level of experience, and ensuring they're having a good customer experience throughout the journey.
Yeah, I just want to, reiterate, like it's so cool that you're both looking beyond just the wins and losses and really understanding the full story, the full picture. So whether that's pursuit cost, time spent, and then also what you're saying, customer journey touch points. So like when you can measure impact at that level of depth, I've seen it, as it becomes both a strategic driver as well as a real competitive advantage. So really great stuff for 2026. Panel closing thoughts. So panel, let's wrap this up. Vanessa, what's one key takeaway you'd like everyone to walk away with today?
Well, I would say two things. First, don't wait until it's perfect. Experiment early, learn alongside the technology as it evolves, and evolve simultaneously. So the number two would be that lean teams can absolutely work smarter and become more creative and operate more strategically by quickly adopting the right tools.
Definitely. Experimentation and speed really matter. Michelle, what about you? What's your takeaway?
And I'm just going to reiterate what I said earlier. Just keep in mind that incremental progress is still progress. And I just encourage you to stay steadfast in your approach to continuous improvement. And so I think what I realized, again, Vanessa and I are from, different types of firms, different sizes of firms, but we all have the same goals where, don't get stalled by perfection, where continue to learn, continue to make progress, and it will pay off in the long term.
Got it. So to summarize, act quickly, experiment often, stay focused on the steady, small improvements, and don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. That's how the real change happens. So tomorrow morning's action plan. Here's the recap. Here's the TLDR. At least what I gathered. So pilot generative AI, try tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, whatever it is, to speed up your proposal drafting. Number two is make go, no go data driven. So make sure you start tagging and tracking win-loss reasons. Even if it's in a basic spreadsheet, it doesn't have to be in a CRM. Use that data to spot patterns and improve your win rates, or at least try to. And then lastly, end the proposal treasure hunt. So think about pre-ranking your images and centralizing your proposal assets to cut down on wasted hours. Anything that anyone wants to add before we move on to Q&A? No.
Oh, let's jump into questions.
Do it. And once again, thank you both so much. I really appreciate you both sharing such great insights from today. But yeah, let's jump into Q&A. I'm going to look at these. We have about 5 minutes, but I'll make sure that we respond to stuff later. Does anyone have any suggested courses or trainings for further AI understanding and improved use?
smps.ai. I think the conference is like next week, Michelle.
Yeah, so if you're in Denver, I will actually be there on Thursday, and so and I will say I've had snippets of the session downloaded to me, and so I'm actually attending it this Thursday. But from what I understand, it is the most applicable to marketing in this industry, and so I've heard really great things about it. And Vanessa, I know that you've raved about it as well.
It's a good one.
Yeah, we'll be there as well. We have Rochelle Ray going, so be sure to say hi. I think we're also hosting a CMO roundtable, but that's going to be a good one. Would anyone like to share a bit about how your marketing proposal teams are structured to meet the needs of your organization?
Sure, I can go first because it's a short answer. I have 5 people and I'm one of them, one of the 5. And I have a marketing operations manager. She is my right hand, Alexis. She's amazing. She is closely integrated with operations in the firm. So a lot of that cross collaboration I was talking about is something that she is very, very good at. And then we have a pursuit specialist and a marketing assistant who assist with all of the pursuits that we work on. And then we have a graphic designer. And then I also utilize other staff at outsource.
And I'm going to keep mine pretty high level. So we have about 65, 70 marketers across the organization. And so we have a senior VP of marketing that oversees 4 national groups, which includes migrant marketing operations, creative services, corporate marketing, and communications. And then we have 4 regional directors. Those regional directors are really responsible for the pursuits and events and local communications that kind of happen on the regional and local levels.
Perfect. And then just to follow up to that, are your marketing teams also responsible for creating all proposals pursuits, or is there a separate team for pursuits? Wondering specifically how you manage and balance pursuits versus marketing of the company.
Yes, we do it all. And I've had outsourced consultants come in and provide additional help. And it's much easier to do that with the technology that we've decentralized things. So
Yeah, I am the marketing operations director, but I also still oversee West Region marketing. And so a lot of the pursuit side of things. And the answer for us is yes as well. They do press releases and events and proposals and all of those things. But that's one of the things we're evaluating right now is I'm actually searching for a West Region communications person because I think what we're starting to realize is it is really impossible for pursuit marketers to do it all, even though I know pursuit marketers tend to like the diversity of work. And so we're really reevaluating how do we give them that diversity of work, but also stop the overload.
Great. Let's do one or two more. How are you benchmarking your metrics to calculate time saved?
We're benchmarking it. Well, Dahlin is part of a group called CO.net. So we're with our peer firms across the country. I think there are about 8 to 10 of them, and we share benchmarking information so that we have a baseline. And then we're using our Azura system, which all of our billing goes into, to pull those numbers. And it's not perfect because they're not fully connected yet with our Deltek CRM, but we're in the process also of adopting that whole system, that full ERP. So it'll be much easier.
Mm-hmm. Let's do maybe two more. How do you avoid silos between business development, marketing, ops, and estimating?
I would say for us, it comes down to consistent processes and consistent expectation setting. And so specifically with regards to the pursuit process, just understanding, basically agreeing with those groups ahead of time, the leaders of those groups ahead of time, who's involved in what and what are the expectations of each participant. And not to say that we don't have to go back and remind, but I think setting those expectations and making sure they're consistent early on has been really successful for us.
Perfect. I'm just going to put my email address in the chat. So if anyone has any questions, they can just send me an email. I'm more than happy to respond. Let's do one more. What positions in your marketing department were the most critical when the business, scaled? Does anything sort of stand out there?
I'm just going to give a shout out to marketing operations. So this was not a position that existed several years ago, but just looking at our track record of what we've been able to implement, where we really didn't have a dedicated focus on this MarTech and process infrastructure. And again, I think as you continue to scale, but the need for that infrastructure just becomes greater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would second what Michelle said with the marketing operations. That is a really key role for us.
I would third that as well. Fan of that as well. Michelle, Vanessa, can't thank you both enough. Like, I think that this was super insightful. I learned a lot. I hope everyone who joined learned a lot. Once again, feel free to email me any questions that you have. But yeah, thank you both so much. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Derek. Thanks, everyone.
Joining us. Have a great day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon. Bye.